Okay, welcome to Ampocalypse with me, Damian FitzGerald, and today I'm joined, well, for a legend to me, the one and only Jason Perry of A. And we're looking ahead at the band's long-awaited return with their brand new album, Prang, which is released on the 22nd of May through Cooking Vinyl. And of course, their huge appearance at Slam Dunk Festival, which I will be most definitely making time to catch you at. We'll also be talking about finally bringing A back after more than 20 years. It's been 20 years almost since the last record.
Oh my God.
And, you know, what made now feel like the time to release the album and so on. I'd also like to touch on how the music industry has changed since, the last album dropped, and what it actually means for you to return to the festival stages alongside a whole new generation of artists and fans. Now, that as well, because at the end of this, we'll be diving into your very own Ampocalypse, where we descend into the festival chaos as we transform a packed summer festival into the last surviving community on Earth. So, Jason, I hope you could deal with all that rambling. Welcome to your Ampocalypse. So, first of all, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm really good. Just been doing this kind of stuff all day, so my voice is a bit dog-like, but it always is. It always sounds like a wounded dog. But yeah, I'm really good. I'm proud of our album, and I'm proud to talk about it. So yeah, it's a nice time.
Yeah. I mean, I must confess, when I saw the news drop that a new album was coming out, I was like, it's been 20 years. It's just shocking. So I want to know, first of all, so
I don't think
after
that's
so
that long.
many years,
I think you've been mean there. I don't think it's long at all. I think I think people need to get over it. 20 years hard work.
oh, no. That's fair. That's fair. But it's still 20 years. But, was there a particular moment where making new music together stopped feeling like, a fun idea for you, and actually became, we are going to make this new album?
Yeah, there was exactly that moment. It was about 18 months ago now, and we were having a barbecue at our little rehearsal place, and we had nothing to do particularly apart from have a barbecue and meet up and play around with some ideas, which we normally do. But Mark, our guitarist, had this little riff, and it was really cheeky, and I loved it, and it reminded me of early Blur. And Trig started playing this kind of very Blur bass line, and I couldn't believe how good it was. So I said to Adam, just join in and play this on the drums. And I had 4 microphones in the room, 2 overheads, an SM57 on the snare, and an SM57 on the kick drum that I just threw in the kick drum. I held the 57 over the snare because we had no snare stand, and recorded it twice. And then I took that same mic over to Mark's guitar and held it in front of his amp with a finger in my ear, and then took the same mic and held it to Trig's bass amp. And within 2 hours, we'd written and recorded the first song on the album, and it's exactly as you hear it on the album, a song called Hello Sunshine. And 2 hours before that, it didn't exist. And went back out, had the barbecue, came back and listened to it a few days later. I'm back here in my little studio flat, and I put the vocals down, and that's exactly as it is on the album. Not touched, nothing. So we've gone from 20 years of nothing to writing and recording the first song in 2 hours, and then that was a moment. It's like, right, we can make an album now, and this is how we need to make it. We need to jump on ideas that feel exciting and feel genuine and feel genuine and honest, and record it in a punk rock DIY way, no recording studios, and that's what we did for this album.
Amazing. So it really did start as a spark of creativity that brought A back to life, essentially.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when you started writing again, was there ever a sort of a fear of whether A could still work creatively in 2026, especially after such a long gap? Or was it really just that catalyst that, pushed you over the edge, that reminded you why you loved being in the band?
Well, yeah, up until that point, there was that fear. It was like, what is A? How does A resonate with me as a mid-50s? And what was A? When I think of A, what was A? And it was round about that kind of Monkey Kong time where I felt like that was us at our most anus, excuse the pun, but our most most A. And again, it was just that kind of effervescent energy, enthusiasm for loads of stuff. And if we like it, we record it. If we like it, we sing about it. Doesn't matter what style of music it is or anything. And we didn't feel any pressure on that album. We just made, and I always thought that's what A is. That's what makes our band special. But does a 55-year-old man relate to that? And so I was worried about it, and that's why we never made a record, because I thought if we're going to make another record, it has to be really good, and it has to feel really good, and it'll be worth it, because it's a lot of hard work, and I'm busy making other people's records these days, and that's hard work, and you're drained at the end of it, absolutely drained. You feel like you can never make another one. And so that moment, that Hello Sunshine moment, was it. And after that, it was easy. After that, I didn't care anymore. I didn't care what anybody thought. And I didn't care about any pressure. The only pressure is just to be honest. That was it. And that's what being a record producer has taught me over the last 20 years, is that honesty is everything. Same in life, isn't it? You can't hide from it if you're honest. Oh. So, that's what this album is. It's just a big vinyl slab of honesty. And it's really special, because I felt like our last album, we're trying to be big and trying to write big rock songs, and it just not quite us, really. There's some good moments on it, but it's not quite us. It wasn't an honest record, an honest representation of us, whereas this really is.
I mean, Hello Sunshine, it is a really good introduction to the record, and it does sort of bring, especially me, brings me back to those days of, Monkey Kong and Hi-Fi Serious and everything. And it's a really carefree, energetic sort of reintroduction to the band. Now, one of the things that has stood out about A as a band, is, even after all these years, the lineup has remained pretty stable, which, I know you've been on hiatus for X amount of time, but few bands can actually make that claim. Part of that, of course, is like being in the band with three brothers, and I can't imagine being in the band with my siblings, because we would murder each other. But there's clearly a strong foundation there. Sorry?
We nearly do. There is. What there is just a love for each other. Mark's my oldest and bestest friend. So it's like being in a band with four brothers, and when Trig joined the band, it felt like being in a band with five brothers, and because we've known each other for so long. And that's more important than anything. More important than the music. Adam was really ill a couple of years ago, and he's got diabetes now. He's always struggled with illness, and I could have lost my twin brother 5 years ago. You just appreciate these things more. I appreciate my brothers and my band members for just still being here and still being, especially when you get older, and you really appreciate these moments that we shared together and we made for each other. And that's the beauty of music. It brings us all together, and it's just a beautiful thing. And if we did have to have a lineup change, then there wouldn't be a band. It's a little gang, and we've been through various bass players, but because we never really had an album, there was never really a band. It was like, we need to do a tour. So Dougie from The Fly will join, or Tim joined, or even Shay from Kids in Glass Houses joined, and John Mitchell joined. Like, there was loads of different bass players, but it was only because we had a gig coming up, or a tour or something. But it's like, right, we're going to make a record now, and we felt like for the first time we had a real proper lineup. It's like since Dan left, really. Dan's big boots to fill, big Dan Carter boots. But I still see Dan a lot. We go out for breakfast a lot and stuff, and he's doing his band as well at the moment. This new thing.
I mean, I do love the fact you're like, we'll go out for breakfast. It's come a long way since we'll meet in the pub for a couple of
Yeah.
drinks and not
Oh,
make
no,
it to
breakfast.
breakfast. So,
Mine for you
I
this
feel
week.
you on that.
Yeah, I love breakfast.
Now, I've listened to the record through. Unfortunately, I was listening to it while I was working, so I wasn't paying too much attention to the song titles. But I will say right now, it is absolutely stonking, and it does genuinely have that it's got that summer vibe that really brings me back to what I always enjoyed about A. So I'm going to personally say thank you for that.
Oh,
Now,
thank you, mate. That's lovely to hear. Thank you so much.
no, you're welcome. Now, you've obviously seen the music industry completely transform, since the early 2000s. I know you do produce, you produce people's albums and records and stuff now, but we've got streaming, social media, TikTok. I'll be honest, people have got way shorter attention spans. What challenges do you think have genuinely helped artists? Or sorry, what changes do you think have genuinely helped artists? And what do you miss about the old era of, as you said about recording Prang, just going into a studio or someone's room and recording a record?
It's a good question. I think what's helped artists is selling merch direct to fans. I think that's about the only thing. I don't think anything. Well, there's something in life about giving people what they want as opposed to what they need.
Yeah.
I think we've all had years of getting what we want, but actually what we need is something completely different. Whether it's as a creative, creativity is never about the final product. Creativity is about losing yourself in trying to create something.
Yeah.
It's, there's that idiot from some big tech thing talking about, I think it's Sunny or something, or somewhere what it's called, that it's too hard to learn an instrument these days, and this AI thing does it all for you. It's like, what a load of bollocks. Like, you've got no idea what you're talking about. You're just reading from some blooming IPO manual. Like, music isn't about the end result so much. It's about what I talked about earlier. It's about an excuse to be together in a room with people and share something and share a feeling. And then if you're successful at that, you get to be in a bigger room with those same people with thousands of other people sharing that feeling. And, there's nothing better than writing a little song in your bedroom and then going to Japan 2 years later and singing it and seeing a stadium full of people singing it back to you like it's life and death. Those moments are just, they'll be with you till you die. And everything seems to be about the process now. Everything seems to be about workflow and I think you just need. I try when I produce, and I try with everything in life now, is just help people just stop and just breathe and enjoy the process. It's not a competition or a game. How quickly can I tune this vocal? How about not tuning it? How about having the confidence to not tune your vocal and to be really raw and vulnerable, or singing it in a way that doesn't need tuning? How about that? How about exploring your voice and finding what your tone of voice is? And these are the things that I think bands overlook now in to try and get the finished article. And you can see it in live as well. I reckon 70 to 80% of the bands at Slam Dunk are probably playing to backing tracks. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, it's not, you're missing the point of what live is. Live isn't, well, I always say this, I think to have the ability to be great, you've got to have the ability to be really shit. And most of the greats would have been terrible. I mean, I've seen the Beastie Boys. So a good example is the Beastie Boys at Brixton Academy. Night 1 was one of the worst gigs I've ever seen. Night 2 was arguably the top 2 gigs of my life. Same band, same venue, 2 different nights, different set. That's live music. It's the power to be transformational and an out-of-body experience, or the power to be a car crash some nights, because it's human beings on stage. And I think that's what I miss. That's what's happened in the last 20 years, to answer your question, is this ability to be human and be rubbish if that's what being human is sometimes, and be incredible other times. And everything's a little bit 6, 7 out of 10 these days, and everyone kind of sounds the same, and it's the same big snare sound and everything. Really tried to get away from that on this album. Just let the song inform the production, not the production inform the song. Not let the drum sound tell the song what it's going to sound like. Let the song tell the drums what it's going to sound like. So it's producing from the heart, from that point backwards. And that's what I've learned as a producer. That's what I try and bring to bands. And some bands don't want that. They don't like that. But some bands, I feel like deep down, that's what you need. You might not want it, but that's what people need. And you can see now the younger generation, they're desperate to buy vinyl again. They're going to shopping centres again. They're turning to religion. They're going to church. You know, they're trying to find communities and fellowship. And that's what we have at football, and that's what we have at gigs. And it's amazing. And you want to feel part of something, and part of that experience is a human experience, I think. Long answer to a good question. Sorry, mate.
Do not be sorry. I literally felt like raising my hands going, testify to that. Because you sound very much like me. You know, you're an analog guy trying to adapt to a digital world almost. So
yeah, and I love the digital world, and I love technology and stuff, but only when it's used correctly. Looking at your Millennium Falcon behind you, Rogue One, they used it correctly, and I felt something watching Rogue One that I didn't feel watching some of the other Disney Star Wars, where it was all CGI. So they still got loads of technology in it, but it had a great script. I cared about the characters, the journey, and I cared enough that I was invested in it, and because it looked and felt real. So it's got to. I think having kids changed me a lot, because kids can just smell through bullshit straight away. And I just think, as humans, we pretend we can't, but we can. And so that's what I wanted Prang to be. I wanted it to be really honest. And I think that way, in 10 years' time, it will still stand for something, and it'll still mean something, and it'll still feel something from it. And it might be that I don't like it, that I've moved on, and then I should go make another album. Just not take 20 years to do it.
Well, I'll always say, if it takes another 20 years to produce another great album, I'd rather have that than churned out, and the quality diluting. Let's be honest.
I agree. But the algorithm wants you to churn, doesn't it? It doesn't care about quality anymore. Yeah. So,
everyone thinks AI is going to take over the world. I personally think it's the algorithms. They're the ones that are going to screw us.
Yeah.
Now, the album, Prang, it does have a really loose, fun, personality-driven feel to it. And, it doesn't, sound over-polished, which is one of the things I really love about that. Was it important to keep that sort of sense of, I suppose, imperfection and spontaneity, I can't even think that's the right word, in the recording, because, again, it really brings me back to that sort of, those long summers that I used to be, in a friend's car listening to A or something like that, or other bands of the generation. Was it important to try and capture that for you?
It was very important. It was, that production-wise, was everything. And you've got to set those parameters. You've got to set, because you can do anything these days. You can make anything sound how you want it to sound. So it's really had to define what are the goals for this album. What does A sound like? Even there's a song called Shit Summer, which is my favourite A song we've ever recorded. And I gave myself 2 takes to sing it. And maybe went to 2.5, but, I set the microphone, and I warmed up, and I got everything right, and I got the lyrics, and I hummed through it and stuff. I'm going to record now, and I'm going to give myself 2 takes. And in the second take, I had tears in my eyes singing it. And then I just finished singing it and went and did something else, and then came back a couple of days later and listened to it, and I was like, yeah, that felt genuine. There's a few tuning things here and there, but I can sort those out. And that was it. But giving yourself those parameters is, because you could have spent 10 hours editing that together for this beautifully sounding vocal with all these harmonies and everything, and it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have connected. So, yeah, giving yourself those real clear parameters of how we're going to record, and where the kind of threshold is, where the benchmark is, and the benchmark is honesty always. And just picking up stuff and going, I like that guitar sound, let's just put it on, throw it on now, let's do it. And whatever I think the song needs, just quickly doing it and working really quickly. And there's something really kind of punk rock and exciting about that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that completely. Now, I want to move on to Slam Dunk because, this feels like the perfect place for A to celebrate the new chapter of, what A stood for. Because there's so many younger bands and younger fans, coming to the show in the lineup. And some of those bands also grew up with your music. So does returning to a festival like Slam Dunk make you reflect on the influence that A's actually had on the scene? Because you really have had a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, Trig, our bass player, keeps telling us that. We're quite humble, and we don't take ourselves very seriously, so we don't really see it until we do things like this. And then you meet bands, and you talk to fans and stuff, and you see the impact that your band's had, and it is amazing. And yeah, back to your question, I think Slam Dunk is the perfect place for us to come back and play on a slightly bigger stage. It's not a massive festival, but it's a perfect size. I love Slam Dunk. I love the sights, and I love the community. Everybody goes there because they love what they love, and they love it. They love that kind of music, and it's kind of independent, and it's a cool festival. So I'm really excited about it, and we're going to do something special. We've always tried to do something special in the crowd, where we do a walking circle pit, or but this time we're going to try and get like a mosh pit line dance going on, because we did a line dancing video for some Song Kings of Lowestoft. So in fact, last night we shot an instructional video for it. So I'm hoping Slam Dunk are going to share it, and maybe you guys can share it as well. But we want people to learn this simple line dance and then do it in the pit. And if I can get 20 people line dancing, that's life enough for me. I'll be stoked with that. So yeah, that's what we're going to try and do.
It sounds like the river dance to A. I like the sound of this. This could be a good giggle.
Honestly, line dancing is not easy, but that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and pull it off.
Now, Slam Dunk, it has become, a major part of the UK's alternative culture now. And it's still quite a modern festival in the grand scheme of things, even though it has been going for quite a long time. But when I think back to, the festivals back in the day, you had VE Festival, you had the original Reading Festival where it was a little bit more rock and roll. How do you feel, the more modern festivals stand up against those old ones? Because I still remember the early noughties going to Reading and trying to make my phone last until the last day. Now I've got a charging pack and everything. So how do you feel they sort of stand up against each other? And what do you prefer out of the two?
Again, it's horrible. You don't sound like a Luddite or some old guy, but again, it's giving people what they want and what they need, And I think what you need at a festival is somewhere to lose yourself away from the world with a community of people that care about the music. And it's not all about the niceties. I don't want to go to a festival and feel like I'm in a hotel. I could go to a hotel for that. I've got phone chargers at home. If it rains and you get wet and you get muddy, and so I think some of the festivals have lost that a lot. Like Coachella, I just think it's abysmal. But obviously commercially it works and people like it, but it's not for me. That kind of festival where every artist is trying to put on a big show and they're trying to outdo each other, and even Glastonbury main stage seems a bit like that now, where the headliners have to really kind of put on a big production. So I'm not sure that that's for me. I miss those kind of glory days of Reading. when it was all about the music and
Yeah.
and the community, and it wasn't about the selfies so much. But you know, I like my phone and I like taking selfies and I like Instagram and I love all that. I just not sure festivals are or concerts are I'm not sure that that's why you go to a concert. And I'm as guilty as anybody who's filming stuff at concerts and taking pictures and stuff. But there's something so special about live music that we need to just value a bit more than just the same as going to a restaurant or, you know, well, it's the same with restaurants. It's something special about going to a restaurant and eating as well. I'm just not sure that we need to document it all. But yeah, again, I'm guilty of it as well. But yeah, answer to your questions, festivals are obviously a lot more palatable. They're meant to be safer. I'm sure they are, and more inclusive. But I've always felt safe at festivals, especially the more alternative and the heavier. I used to say to my mum and dad, you know, if you want to know that your kids are somewhere safe, send them to a heavy metal festival. There is nothing safer. There is no safer community. Everybody might look threatening, but there's so much love and care. And a punk rock festival, you know, it's these are communities of people that care about each other and care about music, and it's beautiful. But it's hard to not sound like an old man. But we were lucky, you know, growing up in the '90s, and when Reading was really happening and being part of that, we were blessed. We really were. So of course I'm going to look back and miss it. But you know,
Yeah.
I still think Download's amazing, and I still think that you know, Slam Dunking is, and there's festivals that, you know, Scorpio do in Germany, like Hurricane and Southside, and yeah, they're all great. I love festivals, absolutely love them.
Yep. Now, I want to get slightly nostalgic now because when I was young, I was like 16, 17. I didn't have this glorious beard. I remember reading Prang magazine, and it was an article that had, I think, you and I think one of your brothers in it, giving your survival guides on how to survive a festival and,
Really?
you know, what was it? The essential tools to bring and all that. And I can't really remember because back then it was like carrying as many crates of beer, tent be
Yeah, yeah.
damned. But what do your ultimate festival survival essentials look like now compared to back when I read that article?
Well, I've only ever camped at a festival once, and it wasn't for me. And we've been lucky enough to, you know, be in tour buses. So it's a great thing when you come off stage or you wake up. You know, you wake up in your bunk at a festival site, and you don't know how you got there. And you wake up and you look out the window and you see all the other buses, and you go to catering and have your breakfast, and then you do your show, and you come back to the bus and get changed. And I love festivals that get a little bit colder at night, so you can put on like a snowboard jacket or something and go out and at night. And it's just really good to have that home backstage, which is your tour bus, because by then it really is home. And it's a great way to do festivals in a tour bus. Believe me, it's the best. But even on a tour bus, I can't go anywhere without wet wipes. I'm obsessed with being clean. So if I was certainly camping, I would bring wet wipes or baby wipes,
Yeah.
just wipes in general,
Yeah.
more than anything.
I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
what a friend of mine
that's
called it. It was like the shameful festival bath with wet wipes. So,
yeah, the wipe
so
shower.
looking ahead, now that Prang is finally, well, it's not quite here, but it's soon to be with us. Does this feel like a one-off celebration, or do you think it genuinely could mark the start of a new era for A? And I'm
I
keeping my
think
fingers crossed for this answer.
I think it's start of a new era. I think what this album has taught me is honesty. And as long as we can keep that honesty going, we can keep making music. And who knows, it might get bigger, it might get smaller. Maybe people won't care, maybe more people will care. But it's taken me a while to realize that growing up's not the worst thing in the world, and getting older is not the worst thing. And I still struggle with it because I'm like a little kid at heart. But I love the responsibility of being an adult as well. And I love how much I care and how much I appreciate at my age. So I want to put that same love and appreciation and care into our band and our relationships with our friends and our relationship with music, and keep doing it. But it's got to be honest. It's got to be honest music for me. There's no point. Yeah.
Well, as I said, I can't wait to see you live at Slam Dunk. I can't remember the last time I saw you live. I just remember being blown away. So I can't wait for this.
Thank you, mate. Well,
Now,
this time you're getting your line dancing shoes on, so.
oh, I definitely will be. Well, you'll see when you see like a bearded guy go over, you know it's me, because I'll just be like, right, one more, and then I'm gone. I'll be down. But Jason, I think it's the perfect time to point towards how you would survive in your own apocalypse. So, because this is the scenario, we're looking at festivals. And what would you do if the festival you were at, not Slam Dunk, we're going for one where you'd have to camp, or in your case, be on a tour bus. But you would be surviving the last community on Earth. So, the first question: when the apocalypse actually hits and you're all at the festival, you're enjoying yourself, and you actually find out the news breaks, do you try and escape before things get worse, or do you stay put at the festival? What's your game plan there?
Depends if I've got my kids with me. So if I've got my kids with me, we stay at the festival. But if you don't have your kids with you, any parent would go out and brave the world out there to try and find their kids. So I know it sounds like a Hollywood movie, but that's that. If we're taking these questions seriously, that's the truth. If I didn't have kids, I'd just stay at the festival and just keep drinking and eating all the free catering, and have barbecues. Just cook barbecues, listen to music, and be glad we're not dead. But yeah, I think a festival. I used to think the best place to survive an apocalypse would be a shopping centre, because you've kind of got everything, and then it'd be like a water park, but you get bored of the water park. But I think at a festival, it's a pretty good place to hang out, isn't it, while everybody else is burning? So
That's true.
I'd go for that. Yeah, it'd be good.
Cool.
Yeah, if you've got your kids with you, then it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter where you are.
Exactly. Now, of course, festivals are basically small cities for a few days or what anyway. So if society did start crumbling and falling apart around us, what parts of festival culture or the infrastructure suddenly become incredibly valuable for survival?
Toilets.
Toilets. Good answer. I mean, you get the posh toilets.
We get the posh toilets, but even the horrible toilets are still better than just doing it in the street or in the field, aren't they? And you don't want to get disease. You don't want to get, all these horrible diseases that you get after floods or where there's been natural disasters. So I think everybody needs to muck in and keep the toilets clean. And if you could do that, and you can keep a fresh supply of water, you'd be all right. We can start growing food, and I think we'll be all right. You just need the toilets to be clean. Back to wet wipes, really.
I mean, clean toilets would be the dream, but like whenever I think of festival toilets, I always get PTSD of like a Glastonbury toilet that I remember once. I remember opening the door, but a mound of shit was coming out of it, and it was nasty. But what got me, someone had stuck a little Union Jack flag in the top.
No.
So, yeah, and I was just like, I'm finding another one. Like, I can't. So yeah, I'm going to put you in charge of sanitation and policing the toilets to keep everyone fresh. That's going to be your job. Now, every festival, it does have different crowds, different scenes, and different energy. In this new world where, the festival is might become a long-term settlement, what sort of fan do you think would thrive the most? Do you think it'd be the seasoned campers, those mosh pitters, or the people that somehow literally bring a tent city with them with gazebos and inflatable couches and all of that? Or some other tribe? Who do you think would be the ultimate festival survivor in this scenario?
The road crew and the stage crew. Definitely. The toured in season tour guys and girls that put that show and built that city, and all with their bare hands, they're the people you need to rely on. They're the ones who are going to win out. The stage managers, the PA guys, the riggers, the lighting people, the sound people, and the crew. yeah, stick with them. They know what they're doing. They've been out there in the wilds, working in all weather to put that show on for us. So yeah, I'd stick with them. They can fix anything as well.
I think, you know what, like, no, if this does happen, like, touch wood, it doesn't, I am finding you personally, because it sounds like you've got a plan. Now, if the festival, you know, had to become a functioning society, every community needs leadership. At the moment, based on what you've said and how sensible you're actually going to be with this, and especially the sanitation, I'm voting for you personally. But which band on the Slam Dunk lineup do you think people would naturally rally behind as the leaders of this new festival civilization?
That's a tough question. I don't rally behind any band, honestly. I think bands at the bottom of the pyramid there. I'd rally behind the catering people, the people who cook the food, or the tour managers. We'd find a good tour manager from a good band. I'd rally behind them, but not the band. No. You don't want some drummer telling you what to do you?
That's fair. Well, I mean, no one wants a drummer to tell us what to do. No offence against your brother. Now, at some point, morale becomes just as important as survival. Which song by A would you feel would be best played to keep hope alive in the campsite?
Oh, that's a good question. What's our happiest song? God, that's a really good question. I don't know. I think I Love Lake Tahoe is quite a jolly little song, and it's easy to play, and it's got a guitar solo section that can go on for hours, so that could go on for months. So Matt could just kind of keep playing the guitar solo. Yeah, I Love Lake Tahoe. That'd be easy. Yeah.
So if you had to convert...
It's easy to sing as well.
There you go, everyone's got to sing along. Now, if you had to convert one area of the festival into your permanent base of operations, where are you choosing and why?
Catering tent.
Catering tent?
Yeah. Best
place they got breakfast.
Is backstage catering. Everyone's happy there. You've got everything you need. Tea and coffee machines. Yeah, that's where I'm living.
Fair. So, last question, and this is for the band A, and I suppose your wider circle as well. If the festival Apocalypse, literally became This Is Where We're Surviving, who do you think would naturally take on specific roles, such as leader, entertainer, scavenger, peacekeeper? Who do you think would play these best roles in A?
In A?
In the band, and as I said, your...
Peacekeeper would be me. Scavenger would be Giles. What were the other ones?
We got Peacekeeper and someone secretly trying to escape. I forgot that last one.
Oh, that would be Adam. Because when he was with the Bloodhound Gang and they got basically kidnapped and held hostage in Russia and beaten up and then banned from Russia, he tried to escape through the only escapable fire door and locked it behind him, watching everybody else getting beaten up by these secret police inside. This is a whole new story, whole other story, but yeah, it's on YouTube. You can watch it. So Adam would be trying to escape. What was the other one? Charles would be the scavenger. He'd be out foraging.
It was leader, entertainer, scavenger, peacekeeper, and the person trying to escape.
Mark would be the entertainer. He'd be a funny one. Mark and Adam, and I think the leader would be Trig because he's the one who motivates everyone to do stuff. He's a good leader.
Nice.
Yeah. Good questions.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to go and check out that video on YouTube because that's fascinating. Jason, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me on Ampocalypse today. Hopefully I'll get a chance to catch up with you again at Slam Dunk. We'll do a follow-up interview if we're able to. We'll find out how your society is doing.
Why don't we meet in the pit while we're line dancing? We'll have a chat then.
Done. I'll bring the mics ready.
Okay.
Jason,
all right, mate.
thank you so much, sir. Have a great evening.
Take
care, man. Bye.
See ya.